Alright guys, Matt Burniston from the Mega Plush. Week 2, episode 2. Episode 2 for episode 3. Something like that. Rigging. We're going to be talking about rigging. Everybody loves it. This week, the intro, a little bit of me talking, is going to be a little shorter. We're just going to get straight into it. But yeah, just a quick word about rigging. Hate it, basically. In a nutshell, absolutely hate it. I don't get it. I don't like it. I mean, I get it to a degree, but I'm not like, I'm not a professional. I don't want to be a professional. I do it to get to the good bit, which is the animation. So that's basically my thoughts on it. I've never used any Oni software that's actually decent. That's made it easy. Everyone says they have these tools that, well, you just press one button and it rigs it. Nah, it doesn't. Everything you're gonna rig's totally different. Character rigging is, to me, the hardest. I can rig simple stuff, you know, like machines that are like simple joints and stuff. I can do, not a problem. And that actually brings me to the point that the rigging isn't actually the difficult bit. The making a skeleton isn't the difficult bit. Auto character setup, awesome, love it. I actually had the skeleton in like 10 minutes, no joke. Just drop it on there and move the points to where you need it. Perfect, great tool, love it, absolutely amazing. The problem is the weight. Weight painting is the worst thing that anyone has ever invented in the world of the world. Yeah, and it took me about 3 days to rig this, to paint the weights. It took me 10 minutes to rig it, 3 days to paint the weights. And we're going to get into some of it in a minute. It's been a nightmare, and there's been a lot of this. This was basically, let me just give you an insight into my week. This is basically how I looked sitting at my desk. This. Why doesn't this just work? Me. Me. No. Me. This is So yeah, that was my week. But we got there. It's pretty much rigged. Pretty happy with it. So yeah, let's jump into some screens and we'll talk about some process and bits and pieces, and hopefully I'll show you how I did it, and hopefully someone will be able to come along and tell me exactly what I did wrong and how to make the next one a lot simpler. So yeah, let's jump into it. Alright, so here we are, leaving off from where we were last week. Went in, did some of the we showed the texturing stuff last week, showed you the render. This is basically where we're leaving off here. And what I want to do is just go through a couple of things. First thing is just the ACS rig. They have a lot of documentation online, so I'm not going to go over it again for them. But basically, yeah, just going to quick overview of that because it's awesome, and I really like it. So just going to go into, where's my tabs gone? There they are. So I'm just going to go into setup real quick. And then I'm going to just go and I'm going to just do, so basically you hit presets, and then you just drag and drop that little bad boy on there, the biped. And then it's just basically a case of, maybe double click it, is that what you do? And then basically all you need to do is, my model's out of place here, and what I did is actually I moved this model up for some reason. If you see the grid, for some reason I didn't model it on the surface for some reason, but whatever. When I did this the first time, I moved this whole thing up so she was standing on the work plane. But on this occasion, I'm just going to, if I can, you just hit this this button here. No, you don't. You hit one of these buttons. I can't remember which one it is. This one. And then what you can do is you basically just drag and drop these markers into place. You can scale the initial. You can scale the whole thing in one shot, I think, by hitting this button and typing in a value. That may or may not be the right number. Let's see. Hit your model there and just do view dimensions tool. You can actually see 752 millimeters. So if I do this again and type in 752 millimeters there, this basically scales this down. For some reason I've got 2. I'm going to redraw issue here, but basically, yeah, what you're then going to do, actually let me just hit this button, that'll transfer that to there, he says, and then go back in here. This is the worst tutorial of how to use this ever, because I'm not doing it properly. But yeah, basically you then just basically drag and drop these elements into the right place. Use the front menu is quite a good option, but yeah, you can basically grab that leg and just move it. So that hip joint would be there. Continue, so then the knee joint would be like there, and then you'd get this foot joints and whatever. And you do it properly, and you do a way better job than I'm doing right now, but you know, you kind of drag these all into place, put the arms in there and what have you. So yeah, that's the basis of that. Fast forward a little bit and we'll get to this file. So then basically what I've done is jumped ahead in time. As you can see, I've moved this up here, and if we just jump into this, you can see, there we go. Just ignore the chain for a little minute, but I've taken all these points, put them in the right place, put all the spine in the right place. Just jump to the right. You know, you can see they're all in there. I'm not too worried about the trunk right now. I took the eye. The default setup comes with eyes and more fingers, and you can kind of delete stuff as you need it. But yeah, this is the general idea of just dropping all these in the right place. And then what I always do is I always save a file called prebind. I have a lot of issues with, like I said, a lot of issues with bind and waiting. So what I'll do is I'll get this to exactly where I need it, and then I'll kind of save this as a kind of like a safe place to be, and then kind of go in and kind of just and that means I can always jump back to this if my binding goes wrong or whatever. So that's just a little tip there. Save like a pre-bind, and then after this I'll save post-bind files. Some of the other things I did to this character, I ended up the glove. I had to remodel the glove and hand, because originally the hand went underneath this this glove mesh, and then when I was painting the weight, the first time I was painting the weights, it was a nightmare. So I had to go back in and change that. So you can see as I select that model, it kind of just selects the hand because it's all one piece of geometry. And the same with the fingers. There's like a loop there and then a loop there, and that's just one geometry. Instead of trying to paint the weight for the hands and paint the weight for the gloves, and then when you bend the fingers, absolute nightmare, everything starts to intersect. The two t-shirts are still separate. This thing is still separate, and this thing is still separate. I messed around with kind of slicing the arm there and intersecting this, but the difference in and joining it, sorry, but the difference in the density of the geometry for these was a bit of a nightmare, and that's because of these studs. I could have done the studs with the displacement map, but yeah, it's done now, so that's cool. The other thing I did was I actually deleted, if I select this body piece, you'll see that I deleted the leg geometry from inside. Similar reason, you're never going to see it, it's a nightmare. The fur on the legs pokes through when you bend it, the knees and stuff, and the geometry kind of intersects. So actually I found it's easier just to delete it, and then I've just got these little stumpy leg bits at the bottom, and it seems to work pretty well. If anyone's got a reason why you shouldn't do that, then that'd be nice to hear. It works for me. I've done it on the other characters, the bear and the tiger especially. These characters are kind of, I mentioned it in the last video, but they're kind of stumpy, so having the legs this short is actually kind of difficult to weight and move and what have you, and having clothes over the top actually adds to that, and it makes it even more difficult. So I found, yeah, just deleting the geometry underneath actually kind of helps a little. So then, yeah, basically from this step, everything's all set up, and then what you can do is you just select, you select your mesh, and you can one of these buttons. I can't remember which one it is. Is it this one? You click and hold and do assign bind mesh, and what that'll do is that'll just make sure that this character and this rig and the ACS knows which one's what's going with what, and then basically you just hit bind. And yeah, I had some absolute massive issues here. This is I spent wasted maybe half a day at least, maybe even a day, just doing this. Heat bind, forget it. For me, it never works. I went into the help files and noticed that there's a bunch of stuff that has to happen for the heat to work. You can't have open meshes, so that kind of destroys me there, because I've got lots of open meshes. I've got the body now and the legs, and then these jeans are also open, they're not closed. So it just doesn't like it. It just doesn't bind. It might work for you, it didn't work for me. And then the other options is rigid. I didn't really want to use that because it does what it says. It kind of works really well for rigid things. So now I'm left with these two, and I had a lot of issues with these as well. For some reason, if I turn off bind at segments, it just doesn't work. It won't. It just doesn't bind. You hit bind, and then when you move the character, it just doesn't. It's weird. It just doesn't work. And then if you look at the vertex maps, maps for the things, it's all just weighted to the root. So bit of a nightmare there. Let me see if I'm going to do that. The reason I saved this pre-bind file as well is, like, if you try to do this and then undo, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it keeps the it does. It keeps the normalizing folder in here, and that's going to mess you up in the long run. So normally what I do is just do file, revert, and go back to this, and then try waiting again. Actually, there you go. So it thinks it's already actually being bound. So so you got to do file, revert. So yeah, that's the reason why I keep that post bind. Show on revert, and the pre-bind and the post bind files. That's why I keep them separate. So yeah, then the smooth binds is basically what I was using. The smooth distance, smooth, and smooth visible. Honestly, couldn't tell any difference between them. Apparently, the visible one is supposed to help when sometimes what will happen is, like, this joint will affect stuff over here, or like the foot, the insides of the legs will affect each other, or the insides of the arms will grab this body piece. I don't know. Both of these gave me pretty much identical results. I have to bind the segments on, else it doesn't work. And then this low, medium, high, honestly, it didn't really make a difference. So yeah, this was pretty annoying. Like I say, I lost a good half a day just messing with this. And did this even work? Yeah, so now you can see this has worked. I've got this bound, which is good. So let me just, so then once you got it bound, you basically use these two tabs to go back and forward. You use this tab, and this will basically change and show you your joints, and then it'll show you your weights for your joints, which is cool. So actually, you can see there, that joint is affecting the ear. Apparently, the visible is supposed to stop that happening, but it obviously didn't. You can see there's some slight on the nose there too. And what's really annoying is this hand is totally affecting this hand. So basically, this is relatively unusable. That joint is controlling that whole leg. That's kind of annoying. So basically, what I decided was this was an absolute nightmare, and I decided to delete all of the weights from all of the joints and basically start from scratch. I felt like, rather than trying to save these weights and kind of work with what I had, I figured let's just start from scratch and see what happens. So basically what I did was select each weight, in the weight tab here and do adjust weights and just turn it to 0. What I like to do, just another quick little tip on some of the panels you need. So yeah, it gets kind of annoying jumping from ACS, this tab, to the weights tab and clicking on this. What was also annoying when you actually hit adjust weights, it doesn't actually show you the dialog box, which is annoying. It would be nice if it was in the bottom or something. But yeah, basically what I do is I have like a whole, I made a group of little panels, broke out the little panels here. So basically I have, first of all I have this one, they're just on my other screen right now, but when I'm working I like to sit them here. And what this is this is just the properties panel. So when I hit adjust weights, I actually get the tool panel right here, so I can easily just change it rather than clicking. It's the panel's actually right there, but and I'm pretty sure you can just drag that out and snap it off. But I like to have it out, and the way I got that out was I think I did layout panels. I think it's tool properties, and that opens up this, just so I can have this open and this open at the same time. So when I'm waiting, I do that. But then also what I did was I actually pulled out another version of this panel. So you'll see that this and this are the same, you know, setup, whatever, modifies, blah blah blah. And what I'll do is I'll leave this one on ACS, and then I'll leave this one on waiting. And yeah, that works pretty well. So yeah, then I don't have to jump back and forward between here and here. It's annoying. I can just have this one open, and this one open all at the same time. So I can jump between these two. I can jump. I don't have to, and then I've just got my weight panel open, and then I've got the properties open. So basically, it was just a case of going in, like I said, just deleting all the weights, hitting adjust weight, and just turning all of them at 0. So then basically, I had a clean, perfectly clean model. Nothing was affecting anything, and then I just went back in, kind of time consuming, and just selected the joint, selected the geometry I want, and either using adjust weights. So yeah, you can see I'm doing the head. The head's the easiest part because it's just a big mass of polygons. But yeah, basically select that, maybe select that loop as well, whatever. I'm not going to do it right now, but you just do adjust weights, turn that to 100%, 100. You can turn on normalize, that will help normalize, and a helicopter's landed next door to my apartment. Yeah, and just make sure you have all these points. Just wait, 100, and then when you jump back to this tab, this view, you can then grab the head and just move that, and you'll see that now that's affecting the head. So yeah, it's a case of doing that for every joint, as well as using the paint and the smooth tools, especially on the hands. You got a lot of small, a lot of close joints here, and it's kind of difficult to get them to be smooth. So let me jump forward to the. So what you can see as well is I'll do the post bind, and I'll just increment them. So you know I don't ever want to lose anything. So the last one is we're up to weight 6C. So then we'll go through and see how this all looks. And I got one other little tip for you. So you can see that these weights are all looking kind of nice. Elbows and what have you, head, chest, and I weighted the clothes as well. Went in that to do all that, which was kind of tedious, but you get there in the end. And then yeah, like hips, knees, and all that kind of action. So yeah, this works really well now. Yeah, just a tip when you're painting weights. Actually, what's really helpful is I don't know where I got this from. This was a tip I found online. Someone online wrote about it, or I said something about it. I can't remember. But what you want to do is you can select this bad boy and hit So yeah, you don't know when you're painting your weights, you don't know if it's working or not, and you don't want to paint a little bit of weight, come out with the weight tool, come out of the paint tool, jump across to here, move it back, go back into this tab. It's a nightmare. So basically, what you want to do is you can set a keyframe here, select the joint, set a keyframe, move down like 10 frames, move the head, like do a nod, like that, keyframe. Move up 10 more frames, move the head back, keyframe, go back in here, change that to 0 maybe, and then do like a side tilt like that, keyframe, and then move it to the other side, keyframe. Another helicopter's landing next to my building. Apparently helicopters is the best way to get around in Sao Paulo. Keyframe. I hope that's not too loud on the microphone, but we'll find out. And then keyframe. So basically I've got all these head movements keyed in now. So then what I can do is I can click this, and then select this joint, see my weights, see how it's been affected. So now I can just go in and go like, okay, this is all working because it's finished. But say I had here, say some points were getting pulled up that I didn't want to get pulled up. I could use the paint tool, grab paint my weights, drop the tool, and then just move it, see if it's broken anywhere else, move it back, keep doing that. When you're painting weights, I don't know if it's a graphics card issue, this live deformers, that slows everything down for me, so I just turn that off. So it's basically a case of, painting a little bit, letting see what happens, paint a little bit, see what happens, smooth. And then the other thing you can do as well is obviously select this joint and kind of paint in this one, because obviously each bit of each vertex has been affected by more than one joint. So yeah, maybe paint a little bit in here. If this is broken, paint a little bit back in here. Move the model a little bit, move the model a little bit, and then once you've got that joint sorted, you can just go in and delete these keyframes, and you're all set. My other little thing is this is a little difficult to see when you're painting this kind of red and green. It's good to see the weights, but it's difficult to see if the geometry is actually working. So on my other screen, I've actually got another window, which is just it's just like a model view, and what I can do is while I'm painting the weights on here, I'm always just looking on the other screen just to see if everything's still smooth in this kind of untextured view. As well as so on top of that as well, what I do is on top of all of the textures, I just create a new material. So instead of trying to work out what's going on with like all of the textures on there, like the skin and all that kind of stuff being invisible, like this, is a bit of a nightmare. Just turn this on, one flat grey material. So then when you paint your weights and stuff, it makes it super simple. You see exactly what you're doing, and you can scrub through it and you can see that everything's nice and smooth. So that's a good little tip. Actually, it might speed it up as well a little bit. I don't know if that speeds up the painting process. But yeah, a couple little tips and tricks. So having my panels set up, doing keyframes, dropping the material on, making sure you can see what's going on with your viewport and that kind of stuff. Yeah, like I say, other than that, I don't really have any advice, because this is not my area of expertise. It's just me kind of going through, getting through it, and doing what I need to do. But yeah, if you've got any more questions, additional questions, feel free to put comments in on the Luxology forums on the bottom in the YouTube video. That'd be great, and I can try and help you as much as possible. Yeah, so now all the weights are sorted. That's cool. I reset up my chain. This is just a straight chain geometry. If I just go into setup, I just modeled it straight. You can kind of see it there. It's just a model of a thing, and then I just selected that and just did modifiers. Is it in modifiers? Not modifiers. This is not my deformers, and did a spline, set 5 points, so I've got 5 points on there. And now what I can do is I can rearrange them points, and now I can just move this chain independently. So when the body moves and it intersects with the body, I can grab these and kind of animate this chain. And if she's walking or running, I can have it bounce. I can just keyframe that manually. There's no need for anything else other than that. I went in, added joints for the tail. These are just additional joints. I did the same thing for the ears and the trunk as well. Just going to set up skeleton, draw out my points, draw out my skeleton points, and then actually this is actually a separate mesh in the mesh item. I broke it out and it's kind of binded to its own little mesh, and then what I did was this joint here is actually parented to this joint. So now I can kind of bend this tail individually, independently of the body, but wherever this hip joint moves, the tail moves with it. So that works really well. Same thing with the trunk. I drew out some joints. Same thing with the ears, drew out some joints. These are slightly different. I couldn't bind them in quite the same way because this was a separate mesh. What I had to do was, it's a little bit more tricky, but you go into your setup panel, open setup, and basically what I've done is, it's just this one here, dragged each one of the joints in. So I got the joints here, named them accordingly, grabbed them, dragged them into the schematic view, so that you'll be able to see this, and then dragged in the this is already here, but the mesh that I want to affect, and then I created enough influences. So you go into deform mesh, general influence. I think it's under here, one of these ones. Influences, general influence. That'll create this, and then what you do is you put the geometry in at the geometry for each one of them, and then you take the joint that you created and put that into the effector for each one. So basically I've got one of the general influences for each joint, and then basically in here what you do is you select type, because by default it'll be on entire mesh. So what that will do is if I move this joint, it'll move the entire mesh no matter what. You change that to weight map, and then in your mesh you do weight map, and you create a new weight map. What you'll actually see is auto character rig. This is basically how auto character rig works. You have a weight map for each one of the joints inside there. So then basically what you can see is I've just made these ear ones and trunk ones. So I made 5 for the trunk to go with the 5 joints, and then in the properties, you just of the general influence, you just choose the weight map that you want. So I've got joint 1, influence 1, weight map 1, and they all kind of they all go together. The only other thing you need to do is to make them work is change the deformation mode to local, as well as make sure that in the deformers tab, this is where the order of operation stuff comes in, which kind of breaks my brain a little bit, but I just make sure that they're underneath the original character 1 normalizer folder. Make sure they're underneath that and they seem to work, and that's something to do with when you move the head, the trunk, it's something like the operation is that trunk moves first and then the head moves, or something like that. Like I say, it kind of makes my mind bleed a little bit, but you can kind of just drag these around till it works. The best way of seeing if it works is by moving the head, and if it's in the wrong place. So if I move this character folder below, if I just do it right now without crashing it, if I move that below here, you'll see the trunk and the ears are going to go absolutely crazy. Oops. There you go. So yeah, you'll see that the nose is bent like this, but it's not actually following, and that's something to do with this is bottom up, so it's moving the neck first. The neck's actually moving, and then it's moving this joint. So what you want it to do is move the nose first, and then the head controls everything on top of that. Like I say, it's kind of weird, but you can just drag these around till it works. And obviously you want these to be in the right order too. You want the bottom joint of the nose to fire first, then the next one to fire, and the next one to fire, the next one to fire. It's like, just think of it backwards basically. So you're going up backwards down the scale, and you're going to do the same thing here, and that will fix that. So yeah, I did that for the trunk and the ears. That works really well for that. And then again, just took that the main joint, the first joint in the chain, and parented that to the head. So when the head moves, the trunk and the ears move. And if I put that back, it would work properly. So other than that, that's the rig really. That's basically, in a nutshell, in as fast as I can talk about it, that's rigging. Yeah, the swords and stuff, they're just separate geometry, and then parented to the chest control. So when the chest moves, these all move. When I want the swords out, I'm gonna have to do a bit of jiggery pokery of kind of reparent them to the wrists. Or sometimes what I'll do is I'll just have a duplicate piece of geometry. So I'll have a sword that's parented to the back and a sword that's parented to the wrist. And then as she goes back to grab the sword, as the hand touches, I'll make this one invisible, and I'll make the one in the hand visible. So then as she pulls it out, it's then stuck to the hand. Just a little cheat. I don't know if that's the correct way of doing things, but it works for me. Same for the other weapons. It's all pretty straightforward. But yeah, like I say, like 3 solid days, just going back in and repainting the weights. The only thing on top of this is the face, the facial rig. And the way I do the way I've done the face in the past for the characters. These characters don't talk, so I don't have to go in and do a crazy like facial rig, but I really want to try that one day and kind of select points on the face that I can kind of grab and move independently of each other, so you can kind of pose the eyebrows and pose the mouth and stuff. For this short film, I don't need any of that stuff, so let me just turn off vertices. I don't need any of that stuff, so basically what I did was I just grabbed my character, if I can grab the mesh there, and do list and go into morph maps, and just made a bunch of morph maps. And what we've done is, I'll scroll through them real quick. It's got a polygon mode so you can see a little better. So I've got like angry brow. Let me just turn off, where is it? Enable deformers. Just got to have that off. So yeah, angry brow, you can see, and a variation of the angry brow, like a real angry brow. The base, the brow down, which is broken. Oh no, the brow down left, brow down right. Need to fix that. That's kind of brow down left, brow down right, like that. Brow up, like a worried brow. Some of these I do like together, and then some of them I do individually, because then what I can do is, I'll get to that in a minute, but yeah, I can kind of start combining these once you get it built. A couple of worried brows, and then get another mouth, so we have like a growl. Lower lid up. This is the just the lids there, lower eyelids. Mouth corner, just pulling the corner up, kind of like a little side smile. Mouth down, that's just moving the whole mouth down. Mouth open. Little snarl on the right hand side, just this little snarl on the left hand side, little snarl on the right hand side. Little side smile. Big smile, both sides. And then like a worried, kind of sad little look. So basically the way of doing these is you just do new map, call it whatever you want, just call this one test. And then basically I just use the sculpt tools, which I've opened somewhere, right there, and I just use the move brush mainly, and kind of just, to say we want to just pull these up. We can just pull our eyebrows up, do whatever we want. What you got to remember is, what you'll notice on a lot of these is, let me just scroll back through them real quick. And that's it. Basically, let me just finish that real quick. Yeah, you move it to where you want it, and then that's it. That's your morph map. I use mainly the move tool and the inflate tool. But what you want to when you are doing this, what you want to realize is that, say like angry brow, if you get a mirror and you look at it, you look at your face, you rarely move one part of your face without moving another. So like for the angry brow, it could have been easy for me just to move the top brow, move it down and make this shape. But what you'll notice is this bottom section of the eyebrow as well is actually tightened up. It's come out and tightened up. And you'll notice that eyes do that. Like eyes, like if you move your eyes a little bit, your cheeks move. So yeah, you can see on this one as well, like this whole brow gets pulled up a lot. And it kind of affects almost like this a little bit too. Like if I flip between these, you can see this geometry moves and this geometry moves. And that's a decent distance from the eye, but it just sells that this skin is getting pulled up. You know, even that little bit of the tusk gets pulled a little bit. You know, if you watch that geometry there, it's pulling all this skin up. You know, and it's in her case it's stuffing with fur over the top. But in a case of a human, it would be muscles with the skin moving over the top. So yeah, just be mindful of that. Like, let me show you another one. So yeah, you see there, like that top eyebrow goes up, but this little bit of skin gets pulled with it as well. So there you go. Watch this little section. Which one was it? Brow up. Yeah, it just gets pulled. It pulls all of this up with it. I'm not just affecting like two vertices. I'm affecting like the whole face. You know, same with this. All this back bit of the face moves when that eyebrow went up. And then the same with the mouth as well. So like the smile, for example, the whole tusk moves. You know, the mouth moves up, the tusk moves, the cheek moves out. Let me just do base. There you go. So you can see this whole cheek moves up like that. And then obviously in conjunction, I'll be using the mouth and the eyes together, and that will obviously make the whole face come to life. So then once you got all these painted, all these made, it's as easy as just selecting your mesh. Selecting your mesh. Select that. Go into here. Just press F to view that, and you can do right click and just do add deformer, effector, influence, is it? Influence, morph influence. And basically what that will do is add a new layer, and you'll see is I've got a bunch of them already set up here. So that'll add a new thing. That'll add one of these bad boys. I renamed it mouth open. You choose the morph map that you want, and then you've got a strength value. So now I can just go into, I'm going to set up real quick to see these working. You can see the mouth there, and then what I can do is just scrub that. So I can open the mouth a little bit. I can go into, actually these are all, if you go into the deform tab as well, these are all in there as well, so you can get them from two places. I can open the mouth, I can hit smile, maybe give the smile like 20%. So that started to raise. And you can see a tusk goes up, there you go, so you can really see a tusk move from this point. So she's smiling, but her eyes are kind of dead. So then what you want to do is go in and do some eyes. So maybe you want to do, let's do the left brow up, on the right brow up. Let's do 100% on that. There you go. So that pops up, and then maybe on the right hand side you want the the left hand side you want the brow to be down. So then you give that 100%. So then it's just kind of making this funny. Let me just pull this in so you can get a better view. One eyebrow's down, one eyebrow's up. I don't know how much that helps. One eyebrow's down, one eyebrow's up. She's smiling, and then maybe these are called things, but maybe you go worried, or maybe you like this, and maybe you go maybe you want to add 50% of that, and then that kind of drags the mouth down a little bit, opens up a little bit. Or you want to do a little bit of angry brow, even add a bit of angry brow, see what happens. There you go. So it pinches the thing together. So, and then what you can do is obviously just, this has got a little key, so you can key these over time, and that's basically how I animate the face. What you can do as well is just make like what I've done before is actually on here added like a what would you call it, like a locator, and added like a channel hall to it. So instead of having to go in here and do it, you can just click on a channel hall and have it pop up. Or when you select the head, maybe a channel hall comes up and you can have all the face controls there. Good and bad, gets in the way. It's kind of nice just to have them sitting here, because normally what I'll do is I'll animate the whole body anyway, and then I'll go in and do the face secondary, so I can just leave this panel open and kind of just do a facial timeline, a facial animation for the timeline. So that's that, yeah. So that's kind of the face. I find this works really well for me. Just having morph maps, like I said, I don't have to make them talk, so I don't have to have that much articulation in the mouth. It's mainly just smiling and frowning and that kind of stuff. And obviously, when the fur's covering this, I found that it kind of some of these expressions might look a little bit exaggerated, but once I found once you put the fur over there, it kind of mutes it a little bit, because you can't see the geometry as much. So there's that. But yeah, I think that's it, man. I think that's it for the rigging. That covers pretty much everything, I think. Face, the rigging, the ASC, the weights, the face. That's pretty much it, man. So then what I've done from there is I've just gone in and made this file, which is a little pause file, just to test my rig a little bit. And what you'll see is, let's cancel that. And what I've done is just gone in and yeah, just use the rig that I just made. Just jump back over to this little bad boy. There you go. So yeah, just you know, grabbing the tool handles and just going in and pausing her, and yeah, she's got this like cool stance. Dropped a little background in, dropped a few lights. We've just got a little couple of point lights and a spotlight. Spotlight shining down on a little couple of point lights. I got the surface with some water on it. Grab these files that were on the asset sharing and what have you, a little truck and a little background there. So yeah, that's basically it, and just a little test to make sure my rig's working well. A few little issues on the hands maybe. Making a fist is difficult because the hands are a little stumpy. A few of the other issues are the transition between the waist and the hips is a bit tight, and the shirt gets a little jacked up here. But maybe what I can do is just add a few little additional control handles. Basically, add a locator, similar to what I did with the nose, but you do it with a locator. You just like add locator. Add a general influence, add a weight map, and you can weight map just this the geometry of the shirt to it. So then what I can do is just grab the shirt and just pull it out a little bit and smooth that. You can do that. It's a little more work, a little more tedious, but that's a solution to that at least. And then obviously these legs have basically been a bit of a nightmare from the start really, because they're so stumpy. You know, the hips here, the knees here, and the foot here. There's not much room to play around. But I got them as good as I could. It's difficult to see, but yeah, I can get her to bend her knees. I've got this leg coming out to the side. Just a bit of action pause, but yeah, maybe as I'm animating, I can go back in and tweak some of the weights. It's a good thing. It's never finished, you know. It's just one of them things where you're always working on it. Same with the face. If some of the face isn't really working out, I can go in and just go into the list and mess with the morph maps, and that kind of fixes that. But basically, yeah, I just want to leave this episode with the render of this, which looks a little something like this. Yeah, I don't want to get too much into post-production, but that's the render there, and just a couple of effects and what have you, and just made it look a little bit more contrasty. And this is basically the elephant that we're going to be seeing for the next couple of weeks. You can see a little bit of fur popping through there. That's what I mean by the bit of a nightmare with the fur. But yeah, so rig's done. Happy. Couple more characters to rig. Luckily, the sock monkeys that are going to be in it are already rigged from the last episode. We've got a couple of other characters that are in the episode that I'm going to try and reuse other models. Maybe reuse the bear and just kind of retexture him. Reuse the tiger and retexture him, because I already have them rigged, so that would save time. But then yeah, after the rigging's done, then we're gonna get into some animation and start doing that. I've got some scenes blocked out already, which I've got the first minute or so blocked out, which I did a couple of months ago, so that's going to be that. Yeah, this is basically it for the episode. Thanks for watching again. Insight into rigging. If you have any questions, don't be scared to ask. I'll help as much as I can. Like I say, rigging's not my strong suit, but I'll help as much as I can. If you have questions, maybe other people can help you. That would be good. If anyone's got any suggestions for me, that would be nice. Make rigging in the future go a little quicker. But yeah, leave your comments in the YouTube video, on the forum, tweet me. All the links, I'll put all the links in, but tweet me, Facebook me, Instagram me, do whatever you want. I'll be here and I'll be around. So yeah, that's week 2. Week 3 next week. We'll see what we can get into. Hopefully you'll come back and watch again. Thanks for watching. Cheers. Bye.